Question number 8, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, what is the current estimate of proceeds from the government's asset sales program?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, Treasury's most recent published estimate, included in the Budget Economic and Fiscal Update in May, was $5 to $7 billion. The member will be aware, of course, so that included solid energy, which is no longer part of the program.
Order. Point of order. The Honourable...
Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister hasn't addressed the question, which was on notice, and asked for the current estimate of proceeds, not the Budget Economic Update.
That's true. I'll allow the Prime Minister to answer the question because he hadn't quite completed the question. He certainly started with the latest Treasury figures, but we'll see where it gets to. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The Treasury's most recent published estimate, included in the Budget Economic and Fiscal Update in May, is $5 to $7 billion.
Order.
Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister has again referred to the Budget Economic and Fiscal Update, and is alleging that is the most recent.
The way forward here, the Prime Minister said the most recent Treasury figures, so that's an answer to the question. I will allow the member, as he continues his supplementaries, an additional supplementary question.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. The question didn't ask for the most recent published figures. It asked for the current estimate of proceeds. So that was a question on notice, as you'll admit, very straight. And I'd ask that you hold the Prime Minister to the question on notice.
Well, the Prime Minister has used the current published figures by Treasury to answer the question. Now, that's not to the satisfaction of the member, and I can understand why. I'm not responsible for the answer that's proposed by the Prime Minister, provided it addresses the question. On this occasion, the best way forward is Order! The most appropriate way forward is I'll allow the member additional supplementary questions to see if he can delve to it, and I'll be watching carefully those supplementary questions.
Point of order.
Grant Robertson, point
Thank
of order.
you. Mr Speaker, in the answer to question 1 from Dr Norman, the Prime Minister actually gave a figure of $4 billion. He actually gave that figure in question 1. So on this side of the House, it's very difficult for us to understand how we can then relate back to a previous figure when he actually gave a figure of $4 billion in another answer.
The member's making a reasonable point, which is why I've suggested the best way forward, allowing now the Honourable David Cunliffe to continue his supplementary questions, knowing that he has an additional supplementary. Point of order for the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the member needs to go and look at his own question. The question is, what is the current estimate of proceeds from the government's asset sale?
Order. I've moved past that. We've accepted that your answers have been given. I can understand why the member is not happy with that answer, and I've said the way forward is now additional supplementaries. That's the way we will proceed.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order.
Mr Speaker, we seem to have got ourselves into an interesting situation here because I've received a copy of an answer to a written parliamentary question which refers directly to a subsequent Treasury update, subsequent to that of the Budget Economic and Fiscal Update.
And then the way forward is for the member to now use his ability with supplementary questions. And I invite the member to ask supplementary questions. Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, according to the Treasury report, quote, estimated proceeds from the GSO program, close quote, provided to ministers in October 2013, subsequent to Budget 2013, which was forgettable but which was in May. What is the estimated proceeds from the asset sales program according to this more recent update?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I don't have that data in front of me, but if the member wants to direct the question to the Minister of Finance, he has that data.
Point of order.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table an answer to a written parliamentary question.
No, we don't go down the track of tabling written questions. The member's made his point, but we're not going to start tabling written questions in question time.
Mr Speaker,
supplementary
point
question.
of order, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, I do seek your guidance here. There was a worthy primary, not a question on notice.
I just need to understand what the point of order is. If it's relitigating a decision I've already made, that will lead to this order.
It's not relitigating, sir. It's seeking your guidance on a more general implication of the ruling which you've made, which I think is a legitimate follow-on point of order. A question on notice has been provided, which was specific and straightforward in asking for not a previous but a current report. Now, it is clear from an answer which the government has provided in writing to the opposition that a report exists and has been received by ministers which is chronologically subsequent to the one referred to by the Prime Minister. Now, Mr Speaker, we are not dealing with a supplementary question, as you well know, but a question on notice which was very specifically worded.
Order.
What options, sir, if I could please complete the sentence.
Order. We are now relitigating exactly where we were. The member asked a very clear and concise primary question. The member is disappointed with the answer. I share some of that disappointment, and therefore, having accepted the Prime Minister had addressed that question, I gave the member the ability to ask further supplementaries. He has used that supplementary very clearly to show that there is some more recent data. That's made the political point. But to continue now to relitigate whether the first answer was satisfactorily addressed or not, that will lead to disorder.
Mr Speaker, supplementary
question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Which of the following two statements is true in relation to the Treasury report estimated proceeds of the GSO program presented to ministers in October 2013? A, that the Prime Minister has no knowledge of it and does not know how much the asset sales program is on track to have generated. Or B, that he does know but is not frank with this House or the New Zealand public.
Order. I'll leave the Prime Minister to answer that.
I'll take C, none of the above.
Mr Speaker, point of order.
Order. Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. Given that the previous supplementary was a binary yes-no answer, how could he possibly be neither...
No. Order. The member asked a good political question and got a political answer back.
Supplementary question.
Order. Supplementary question. Order.
Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question.
Why is the Prime Minister so terrified of the citizens-initiated referendum that he's hiding the estimated proceeds until voting is over? And why does he not want New Zealanders to be able to make an informed decision?
Well,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, unless the member knows something I don't know about the end date of the Citizens Initiated Referendum, the Minister of Finance advises me that at FEC tomorrow he will give the latest update.
Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question.
Mr Speaker.
Order. Supplementary question has been called. The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, given that in answer to, I think, my second supplementary, the Prime Minister said he didn't know what was in the GSO October report, and then in a subsequent question said that he neither didn't know nor did know, would he like to clear up the confusion and restore his name for heroic transparency by releasing the document in question to the House, which is the GSO report of October 2013.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, firstly, the member only needs to wait one more sleep and the Minister of Finance will update it. Secondly, if one looks at the bottom end of the range, it was $5 billion, and that program, as I was trying to point out while the member interrupted me, included solid energy. We know that about $4 billion has been raised so far and we've got Genesis to go. And Mr Speaker, it's very, very simple. If the member wants to be heroic, then he'll do what the Greens do. He'll print some money and he'll buy back the assets.
Question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, in relation to the Prime Minister's reply in the previous supplementary that he looked forward to the proceeds of the Genesis sale, can he confirm that he will indeed proceed with the sale, or would he accept this challenge? If over 1 million people vote in the asset sales referendum against the sale of state assets, will he suspend the sale of Genesis Energy? Will he suspend the sale of Genesis Energy?
Order. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, let me refresh the member. In 2011, there was a general election. Labor ran an entire campaign opposed to the mixed ownership program and got the worst result in 85 years of the Labor Party, and the National Party ran on the ticket of the mixed ownership model and got the best result it's ever had in MMP history and the second best result ever. Over 1 million people voted. But when it comes to arrogance, it's pretty simple. The member is asked the question through the referendum about whether people support the program. If the answer that from New Zealanders is no, then the one who won't be listening to the public will be David Cunliffe if he doesn't guarantee he'll buy the assets back. And as we saw, his weasel words were out in full display the other day when I challenged...
Order. I'm just waiting for the member's own team to assist him. Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker. I seek leave of the House to table figures from the 2011 election that indicate that more people voted for parties opposed to asset sales than voted for parties in favour of them.
Order. No, the election... Order. Every member, if he can't recall the election date, will easily be able to research it.
Mr. Speaker.
Point of order. Dr. Russell Norman.
Mr. Speaker, I've listened to this question because I didn't want to interrupt the flow. I would ask you to reflect that primary question was the current valuation. The Prime Minister's answer was a 7-month-old valuation. And then in his following answers, he said he has access to a current valuation. How can you possibly say he answered the primary when he said he has access to a current valuation as to what he's going to get for selling the assets? How can you say that he answered the primary question?
I heard an interjection at one stage where he didn't have that. He was aware the information was going to be released. He was arguing that he didn't have that information. Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, given the Prime Minister's apparent ability to change his tune within the course...
Order. That sort of question is not helpful either. Could the member rephrase his question? Order. It was only the Thursday before recess when I was asked by the Labor Party to make sure that ministers didn't start with a personal reflection on a member on this side of the House. Today we've just, in this particular question, had a very clear reflection on the Prime Minister. I can't have rules for one side of this House and not for the other. And I thank the Labor Party particularly for acknowledging that. Now we'll have the supplementary question.
Mr. Speaker, in order to facilitate progress of the House, and thanking you for the ruling, sir, can we clear this up once and for all by the Prime Minister giving an unequivocal answer to the following question? Will he continue with the sale of Genesis Energy no matter how many people in New Zealand vote against his asset sales in the citizens-initiated referendum?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I said, the government went to the election in 2011 and campaigned on this asset, and it's very simple. The government has gone to the people of New Zealand and got a majority. The reason the member asked that question is he doesn't want to answer the question, will he buy the assets back? It's pretty simple, David. Put up the money.
Order.
Your mate will...
Order.
Point of order.
I'm just waiting to assist the member from both sides of the House. Point of order, Honourable
Mr. Speaker, that question simply asked would the Prime Minister proceed or not.
Order.
He never went near that answer.
And the member can't expect to have a yes or no answer to that particular question. Question number 9. Order. Does the member wish to stay for the balance of question time? Order. Does the member wish to stay for the balance of question time? Question number 9. Jackie Dean.